All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, Matt Rule has less than 2 years under his belt as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. And in that time, his record is 10 and 19. And to me, the one thing that is really holding Rule and the Panthers back right now are there issues at the quarterback position? Under Rule, the Panthers have had four different starting quarterbacks, with most of them appearing to be stopgap guys. The Panthers did trade over the offseason for Sam Darnold from the New York Jets. And after Darnold got off to that hot start with Carolina, the same turnover issues plagued him with the Panthers that we saw, hamper him with the Jets. And of course, Darnold is out with the shoulder injury now. We saw Carolina go out there and make the move to bring back veteran quarterback Cam Newton, who hands down is the best quarterback in the history of this franchise. And Newton, to his credit, he did got to get off to the hot start. He helped his team secure a dominating road win over Arizona. He came back and looked solid against Washington in his first home start for Carolina. But then after that, the last two have been difficult on the road against Miami, and then this past Sunday at home versus the Atlanta Falcons. And this game was when the Panthers are coming off of their bye week. And in both of these last two contests, the loss to Miami and to the loss to Atlanta in the second half, Newton would make way for quarterback PJ Walker. Now, right now, Carolina, they're 5-8, and they're well on their way to their fourth consecutive losing season and second one under Rule. And as some people are going to say, the pressure is going to be increasing for Rule heading into the 2022 season. I expect Carolina to be in the market for more than a stopgap guy this offseason. Now, conventional wisdom would say the Panthers would draft a quarterback, but going into year number three of his system, would Rule want a prospect or an established quarterback? We'll have to wait and see because Rule got a 7-year deal when he signed with the Carolina Panthers, and I just don't see a scenario of, let's sake an argument, let's say that things don't go right for Carolina next year and they miss the playoffs once again. I don't see a scenario where their owner David Tepper is going to, fire Rule and then go out there and have to pay Rule and then have to pay another head coach as well. So, being that he has that 7-year deal, or he signed that 7-year deal rather, when he first joined the Carolina Panthers, I think it's a scenario where Rule knows that, and he's going to go out there and do what he has to do to try to figure this out. So you look at it, and I know that quarterback Aaron Rodgers has had a great season with the Green Bay Packers, but I know coming into this season, at least, all parties involved said this was going to be it for A Rod with the Pack. I'll believe it when I see it. But hypothetically speaking, if A Rod were available, would Carolina take a run at him? We'll have to wait and see. But again, I'm of the belief that if Aaron Rodgers keeps playing the way he's playing right now, I think it's going to be very tough for the Packers to move on from him. Russell Wilson, a veteran quarterback from the Seattle Seahawks, would he be available? We'll have to wait and see on that one. Now, I know that Carolina went out there and made a push for Deshawn Watson prior to this year's trade deadline. And Deshaun Watson to the Panthers makes sense, but he was unwilling rather to waive his no trade clause to make the deal happen. Of course, that was part of it. There's a lot of other parameters to that deal, but nonetheless, on the surface, it makes a lot of sense. You figure Deshaun Watson played his college ball at Clemson, which is in South Carolina, not that far away from where the Panthers play their home games in Charlotte. And of course, in that region of the country, Deshaun Watson's a legend. So we'll have to wait and see if that is something that the Carolina Panthers will look at once again this offseason. But aside from the quarterback issues for Carolina, the inability of Christian McCaffrey at running back to stay healthy, that's been a big thing that has hindered this team in recent years because we know what McCaffrey can do when he's healthy, but Christian McCaffrey can't help this team if he's on the sidelines in sweats. And then on top of that, at some point, if McCaffrey cannot stay healthy, the injury bug is really going to hamper what he can do even when he's out there on the field. The Panthers have also had their issues on the offensive line as well. So it's a situation where you know what, you gotta find yourself a mainstay at the quarterback position, but also you have to do right by him. You gotta, put that O line around him. You have to find a running back, whether it's going to be McCaffrey or somebody else, who's going to be able to stay on that field and contribute. So I look at it right now. I know it's an interesting scenario because some people are going to say, well, Panthers general manager Scott Fitterer is not the man that hired Matt Rule. Very true. But nonetheless, it's the fact that Matt Rule does have that big contract and he's not going anywhere anytime soon, barring something that's very catastrophic. But nonetheless, Carolina definitely has this get something going at the quarterback position in order to compete. And if you're the Panthers, you have to look at it like this: Tom Brady is not going to play forever with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're going to have to find another quarterback soon. You look at the Atlanta Falcons. How many more years does Matt Ryan have at the quarterback position for them? New Orleans is trying to figure it out themselves at the quarterback position. So if you're Carolina, I think the time is really now heading into the offseason because you're not going to make the playoffs. I know that they're 5-8. They're one game out of the wild card spot, theoretically speaking. But the problem is Carolina loses a ton of tiebreakers to teams in front of them. Washington is 6-7. They lose that tiebreaker. Philly 6-7. They lose that tiebreaker. Minnesota 6-7. They lose that tiebreaker. Atlanta 6-7 as well. So it's a situation where you know what, it's a long shot for Carolina to jump in front of all those teams because you're playing the what if game. But nonetheless, they got to find a way to get it figured out at the quarterback position. And you got to say to yourselves, if we can get our quarterback situation solidified, we definitely have a chance to win this division going forward. So this is going to be I know that they have 4 games left in the season. I'm sure Matt Rule is going to be evaluating the roster, but heading into the offseason, nonetheless, it's going to be very important to see what Carolina does as far as solidifying things. It was a very good story to see Cam Newton back with the Carolina Panthers this year, where it, you know, all started for him and where he had his most success. And of course, Cam was the face of that franchise for a long time, which included helping them get to the Super Bowl in 2015, as well as being the league's MVP that year as well. But Cam Newton is not the future at quarterback right now for the Carolina Panthers. So the Panthers have to think about long term. Let's see what they do in the offseason, and then let's see if they can finally solidify the most important position on the football field on this Matt Rule regime. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.